Let's see, where are we? Chapter 10. Tonight we will discuss about leading the staff, both volunteer and paid. Mean that in your church, you are the pastor or the leader of the church. You have to deal with at least two groups of people all the time. Some is your staff, they get paid. And some of them, I mean, a lot of them going to be volunteer. So what the difference of that two groups? Well, in short, the staff that you pay mean that they earn money. You pay them most of the time part-time or just some compensation for the time that they serve with you in the church in many positions. But the big group of people who help you at church you call them volunteer. And the church depends a lot on volunteer because most of the church first don't have enough fund to hire everyone to serve. But another situation is some big churches still love to use a lot of volunteer. Why? Because they feel that volunteer can give a lot, contribute a lot, and they teach them that as a believer, they're supposed to be part of the family to serve. Whatever God give, they need to help to serve. So they enlist a lot of volunteers, train them to serve in all kind of positions in their churches. So today now we talk about things might change some because a lot of big churches, I heard like in Rick Warren Church many years ago, he said that if you want to serve in his church, you need to be the best. And the church paid you. But if you're not the best, you better be a good member. Contribute means that you give your tithe, your offering, come to church regularly, take part in all things, and then they use the money to hire professionals to do the best. So this is his idea of they want a paid staff, the best professional to run the church with him. He doesn't want the volunteer who don't have any skill, any knowledge or gift to run the church with him. Now, I don't know, we can discuss about that, how he think about that. And well, he might can do that because he have a big church, a lot of money. He can say that, but most of us and most of churches in America, up to 90% are small churches that don't have enough fund to pay professional. And a lot of positions in churches all over America and in the world are run by volunteer. Now we talk about volunteer, we talk about partnership, mean that they take part in the kingdom of God, working beside you. You might be, well, you yourself might be part-time or full-time. It depends on the size of your church and the budget that your church have. But they consider you a staff and the leadership. And, well, some church call them executive pastor, mean that you run the church. You might have elder or deacon to help you, but still you run the church mainly. And now you have to decide that how many staff that your church can afford and can work with you. And the rest, how you raise up volunteer to fill up the gap. Now, when we talk about people who serve in church, we talk about at least 3 parts that you need to look from them. First, they have the knowledge or not, the knowledge of the work that you're going to assign to them. Secondly, well, knowledge they can learn from school, from period churches, or many things in the past they can learn. And And
Call from 64636101168.
And knowledge, that one thing that you look up from both from your paid staff and from volunteer. So the second thing you look from them is skill. Skill is something that they have been doing this job for a long time and then develop a certain skill they can do better than most people. That's the second part that you look at from your staff or from your volunteer. First is knowledge. Secondly is their skill. The third thing that you look at your staff and your volunteer is commitment. So you look at least three things from each one that's going to work in your team: knowledge, skill, and commitment. Well, we can discuss later on that which one is the most important thing: knowledge, skill, or commitment. And where you get them, anyone who have all three. And the best, well, that is, okay, now we go back to the two groups. Either the one that you pay or the one that you get it because they volunteer to help you. Now, as I say that your church needs both. And most of the time you need volunteer the most because you don't have money to pay. And you can help them develop them to be part of your team. But I know that some pastors say that volunteer come and go, volunteer come and go all the time. And he spent a lot of time train them forever. He want a professional, a staff that the church pay them. Well, it's a good thinking. But the fact is the church cannot afford it. The church don't have the budget to pay any professional to help the pastor to run the church. Now, if the pastor do the preaching and teaching, most of them, and the pastor don't have enough time to run all the worship stuff, so he need another helper. Well, some pastor have his wife to do the music, but still they need someone to lead the worship singing or the program. If you're lucky to have some member who can do that part, they can be a good team. But a lot of time they need to hire someone to do that part, to lead the music or lead the worship in some way, somehow. And many other parts of the church that need volunteer or need staff to help run the church. Well, the church need to decide how much budget they have and how much responsibility that the volunteer can take over. It's always good if you can hire someone. Why? Because you can select what you want. You can select the best that your money can pay. When you don't have a lot of money, you cannot select much, or you don't have money at all. You get whatever people can offer. So that is the problem of more churches in America. More churches in America run by volunteer, even sometimes even the pastor volunteer too, because they don't have money to pay the pastor. So that is a big problem in modern day churches. But some churches can do very well because they have a lot of volunteers who have commitment and have the skill. So that is, you might call them very lucky, a blessed churches who can have all those things in the same time. Yeah, the word volunteer, we will talk more. Who qualified to call volunteer? Why we call them volunteer? Well, This is not Christian words. We borrow it to use at church. Because you see that if you go back to look at the Bible, especially on the book of Acts, the early church, they have the staff, you might call that apostle, full-time serving God, running the church. And later on, they select the 7, they call deacon, to help the apostle to help to run the church. And they divide the job between the apostle and the deacon this way. The apostle will do the teaching, preaching, taking care of spiritual need, and all the physical need of the people run by deacon. And that might be you call the first group of volunteer, because all the deacon don't be supported by church. They have their own job, but they volunteer to help the apostle, to take the burden of the apostle. You know that in the beginning, the apostle do everything themselves. They teach, they preach, they take care of physical need of the people, the sick, the poor. They do everything. But to the point that they cannot do it anymore. Too many people. So they decide to divide the job into spiritual part and physical part. And the apostle take care of the spiritual part, teaching, preaching, praying. And the physical part, they give to the deacon. So this might be the first group that we call volunteer. They step in to help the apostle. They feed the poor, they visit the sick, and they do all other things that people need help. And all of them are volunteer, mean that the church did not support them or pay them. They have their own job, their own family. And some of them rich enough, they don't need any money. But a lot of them still have their own job. But you see that some of the volunteers in the early day church, they already rich. But I don't say that this is the first quality you should select volunteer because they're rich. So we already say that 3 qualities that we're looking from your staff, volunteer or paid is, first, they have the knowledge of the job. Secondly, they have the skill to do that job. Thirdly, they have commitment to do that work. So here we talk a little bit about volunteer agreement and job description, why we need it. Well, even you volunteer, you still fill a certain position at church. You need to know what you're going to do. And commitment here, you need to let them know that when you volunteer, for example, first is about 6 months, a year or 2 years. That the understanding that you have commitment for a certain time period. You cannot quit before that time unless something serious happens. And we need to have to talk about that. And then you tell the volunteer that this position demands you to come to church at certain day, certain time, and do certain job. It's fair to let everyone know that your job description is you lead the music on worship on Sunday morning. You lead the practicing of the choir, or you run the music instrument department, or whatever. You need to be clear on each one job and what time that you expect them to show up, or practicing, or meeting, or running their work. So in the simple agreement is a few detail about their job, about their time, about what the church expect from them. And they can put something that what they expect from the church in return. Have to be clear. So this is simple way of agreement. And here in this part, I will discuss some about the difference between volunteer and the paid staff. Well, a lot of time people say no different, but it's always different. Why? Because the working part, the one who get paid, they have agreement. They need to finish the job. And they get in return is salary or money. But volunteer, they just don't get money back. They just have a good view. And a lot of time volunteers don't have much commitment. And they think that they can walk in, walk out anytime. But it's not true. Even volunteer, you still need commitment. You still need to do a certain job. And the fact is some volunteers do better job than the paid staff. But it's not always the case. Most of the time, volunteers don't do a good job and don't have a lot of commitment. Well, I don't mean that it's always that the case, but if your church lucky enough to get some volunteer who have commitment, the skill, the knowledge, and the commitment, you're so lucky. But a lot of time, they walk in, they walk out a lot. And you cannot expect much from a lot of volunteer, unless someone who called by God and already well to do with their other job, and they want to make a commitment to a certain department of your church. That is a blessing. And here we talk a little bit about the law. When you hire someone to be a staff of your church, you need to observe the state law, federal law, and all kind of things. So this is another, when you want to hire someone to be staff, you need to deal with a lot of law now. But how about volunteer? You don't need to worry about labor law, salary, social security, insurance, all kind of things. When you start paying staff now, if the law get involved. But another way to deal with, if you hire the ordained minister, it's a different story. IRS consider ordained minister as self-employed. So that is another way that the staff that are ordained minister, they deal with the government themselves because they are self-employed. The church can get away from a lot of requirement if you pay or hire just the ordained minister to be your staff of your church. And here more discussion about different reasons why people work for you. Well, we talk about money, funding, or commitment, or calling, or whatever. People have different reasons. And then they say that the best decision why people serve is because they love that church, they love that work, or they love that group of people. But it not always happen that way because people all have all different reasons why they serve, why they join. And when their reason not met, they will quit. But people can change their mind while serving. That happens all the time too. And here, some discussion about how you help your all volunteer. I met a lot of volunteers who burn out, mean that the church keep using them because they're free and keep demanding from them until they burn out. When we talk about burn out, mean that they already run out of gas. They don't want to do anything anymore. They don't have the desire, the love, the strength to keep going. So it's said, don't let your volunteer go to that point, burn out. How you know that people start burning out? You start smelling some burn. I don't mean that. I did that. That's just a joke. It just means that you start seeing that they get tired, they get bored, they get slow down, they get different feeling now. After they work so hard and they feel disappointed. Now this is the sign that your volunteer is burning out now. Don't wait until it go to that point. It's already might be a little bit too late. So make your volunteer enjoy working all the time and know that when to ask them to slow down or to stop before they burn out. And another thing, that problem that we see a lot among all the volunteer or the staff is bitterness and jealousy. When they compare to another group, another department, another person, they always feel that they are better, I am better. Why people treat that person better than me or whatever. Bitterness and jealousy can destroy the whole work. So how you balance that? Make people enjoy doing their work and show appreciation to everyone and be fair to everyone. So we will talk about more about how to deal with volunteer and staff. Something have to be different too, but sometimes something have to have a standard too. You cannot favor someone because they volunteer, because that will cause a lot of jealousy and bitterness in your team. And many other things, a lot of churches make a barrier, mean that you put a standard too high for people to join your church or your team or to work with you. So you need to know that what is the main quality that you're looking from your volunteer or your staff. Some churches put the requirement of knowledge so high, like you need to have master degree or bachelor degree in music or master degree in theology, or that will stop almost everyone from working with you because they don't have all that quality. Or you demand a 3-year experience in that work, and then you might not get anyone. So a lot of things, think about it before you put it on paper. What about bubble? Well, it can mean some excitement gone, or the thing that they want to do is disappear now. They decide, the excitement, or a lot of things. Sometimes, some situation, you get a lot of volunteer, but you need to keep them on the ground, mean that sometimes they're so excited or they follow the trend of something, but that's not going to last. You want the staff, the team that's going to be with you a long time. And here the idea is you can think big, you can plan a lot, but look at your money, your budget. Can you afford it? And that will tell you that you cannot do it because you don't have the money. You cannot afford it. The church cannot support you or your project. And another thing about working with volunteer and how to expand the work of the church is connect with your community. And here we can discuss more because in American culture, community means that people live around the church. But when you talk about minority, it doesn't mean that way. Like you are ethnic minority. When you talk about your community, you talk about people who have the same ethnicity, language, and culture with you. They might come from everywhere far away, but that's your real community. The group that you work with, the group that you expect to reach out. So we have to talk more about your local community. It doesn't mean in American sense that people who live next door to the church or walk a few blocks from the church, they call local community. But in minority community, this is not the case. Well, here we talk a little bit more about toxic situation in some churches or in some community that the leader make it bad for everyone to work with. So that is another situation. We hope that it not happen to our church. And the leader, you are the pastor, you are the one who build the team. You always have to go back and talk with your team all the time. What can we improve ourselves? what can we do to do better job? And open mind, open to suggestion and respond. And the problem is the leader, the pastor, don't want to hear anything from anyone because he think that what he have planned is the best. It's always have improvement. It's always have room to do better or difference. But to that point, a lot of pastors need to go through a lot of trial and error first. Okay, I will stop on this section and come back for your question and reflection about working with staff, paid staff, and volunteer.
I do have question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
When we talk about paid staff and volunteer staff, what is that contradict with in the Bible in the book of John chapter 10 verse 12 and 13 talking about the higher hand that and the true shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes, I think that people voluntarily their time, their effort to work is because they put their heart in there and they don't really care much about the money. But sometimes they got hired and they have to do it because they paid to do the work. So how people think the difference between those two?
Okay, when you go to that section of the Bible, Jesus talk about the real shepherd and the hired man. It means that Jesus compared the real situation in Jewish culture in those days. Some people take care of their own sheep themselves, and some people have a lot, so they hire helper. But the helper don't care because this is not their sheep. They just come to get paid. So in that situation mean that when some people don't have commitment, don't have love, and don't feel this is their calling, they don't care. They just come to do the job because they get paid. And that can mean anyone who don't have commitment, don't have the calling. Now you go back to the church modern day situation. When you hire someone or pay someone to do the work at church, we don't exactly put them in that situation. The church just help them to support them on their living expenses, like apostle too. The church support the apostle on their living expenses, for their housing, for their traveling, for their food, for their family. Even the apostle gets support. So the apostle, we don't consider them as a high man. They are still called by God to do the work. And even you go back all the way to the Old Testament time, all the priests are called by God, ordained by God. And the people support the priests from their tithes and offering. Everything they offer to God becomes the food of the priest and his family. And all the offering, the tithe, go to the priest to support his family too. So we don't consider the priests are the high man. He called by God, ordained by God, and serve God.
Okay, yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So my question to you is, which one that you're looking for from your team? Knowledge, skill, commitment.
Ajahn,
Yes.
I think that we have to either way, either the high man they come here, they do for the money, but at the same time they have a heart also. But the volunteer they work for the heart, but we need to give them some kind of incentive for them to continue to be motivation, either by some kind of some kind of reward, because either way we should be spend some God money that member give it to the church, investing in their own people to advance the cause of God, because sometimes people who volunteer feel neglected, and then they don't want to continue doing it. They have to be either by recognition, by gift, or something. Church and member need to exercise the gratitude and appreciation. We are human. We need some kind of cheerleader.
Well, yes. The church needs to show appreciation all the time, because without that, we cannot keep all the volunteer.
I think that the church should have some kind of program that the volunteer should have some kind of incentive, either like a vacation time, or send them some kind of sponsor the volunteer to go vacation somehow, maybe full or part time or quarter or whatever the expense is, some kind of that kind of reward.
I see, like our church sponsor the volunteer to go to retreat, mean that we pay for the retreat.
Not only the retreat, the volunteer go on the vacation, take their family to somewhere.
Unless you have $1 million budget or big church, most churches cannot afford that.
Well, maybe not in full, maybe 10% or something like that in that kind of cost. Doesn't have to be 100%. It can be 10%, 25% of the airfare. That's only a couple of $100.
Well, how you think? You think your church can afford or can do that?
We need to emphasize the servant. Without the servant, nothing can happen. The work of God stall.
Another perspective. When the church start giving money to the volunteer or the staff, some people complain that why use that money for this thing? Why don't use the money for mission work or help the poor? That is another problem.
God teach us that the ox, when it's working, we not supposed to put a cover on his mouth, right? Right, Ajahn?
You're right.
We cannot. That's what whoever work, they deserve something.
Yeah, Nathan.
I've been seeing, or I know, I think some of us, we've been doing volunteer work ourselves. I think when you do volunteer work, I think you don't expect to be paid. Yeah, Chris, he's right that we should give some kind of recognition. Maybe it doesn't have to send him to vacation. Maybe just give him a gift card or something.
Anything like that, yeah. Doesn't have to be. Vacation is just a sample, but can be gift card, can be dinner, can be something like that in that nature.
A small amount of gift card, yeah, that'd be nice.
Right.
In the past, I was doing working with people. Then we need volunteers, so they said, yeah, we have to do some work day on Saturday, and we start at some kind of, I think they said 8:30, and we finish at 11 o'clock, and we just go home, just go and have lunch. I'm kind of like, you need volunteers. well, at least, the least you can just provide them some kind of lunch, instead of make them work hard and send them away. So I told them maybe just, buy them some pizza or something, so let them enjoy, so we can have some kind of fellowship. And they listened to me. I think starting from that day, instead of finishing at 11:30, they finish around 12:30, 1 o'clock. So, we just for example, we finish work from what at the time we start, and we finish around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. We snack something. After that, most of the time just the job is done. People just go home. I think at least we have to. One thing I noticed that if you have volunteers, you use volunteers, we cannot demand too much. We cannot just you do this in certain amount of time. It's just you can thank you for helping, but do whatever you can, do whatever you want. We cannot just push them too much. If they are paid, we know that you give them the task, the job, and just you need to get it done. But volunteers, I don't think we can expect that.
You need to be able to expect that, because the work of God, the work of God, it need to done it right. The requirement of God is higher.
I have
Need
question.
to have a high expectation. Without high expectation, nobody perform.
I have question. I know one church that all the staffs are only pay part-time paid. They will only work part-time. Do you know any what is the goal behind that idea? The church is not poor. The church is have enough money. But
Well,
I don't know why.
some church believe that we are supposed to have other job and serving God in the same time. It means that they don't believe in all full-time staff.
That's the church doing, right? The church I'm talking about, yeah. Everybody, even the pastor, he's only part-time.
Yeah, it's not because they don't have money, but because they believe that way. Everyone's supposed to have other job and serve God in the same time. And in fact, in the future, we will talk more about they call bivocational staff. Mean that in the future, more and more people will have at least 2 jobs. Serving God, one job, and other job go hand in hand. That's the future.
Even
And
the pastor too, huh, John? Even the
yes,
pastor.
even the pastor too in the future.
Wow. Is it efficient enough for the pastor that are working 2 jobs to like that?
Well, because of that belief, they will have a team of pastors, not just one pastor. If that belief, they will have quite a few one who take turn or help working. But in the future, a lot of staff have to be bivocational, not because of their faith, but because of the budget. The income of the church is not enough to support full-time in the future. So you think about full-time, how much is full-time? It's a lot of money.
I think Ajahn full-time, there's 2 kinds of full-times. One full-time that the pastor work overtime, get paid only full-time. And the other kind, pastor work only part-time, but get paid full-time.
You know that. Yep, Chris.
There's a way to reduce the labor of the pastor. Just for example, okay, like Ajahn Swang, right? Just this is only example. Don't take it. Don't just example, let's say อาจารย์สว่าง right? A pastor of church, and then somebody else, a pastor of the other church, and the other church, and the other church. So normally, each pastor they have to preach every single weekend. But in today's technology, they can preach in one church, and then the other church they can be on the TV. And then they take turn, so that way the pastor don't have to be doing a homework, try to come up with the lesson or the sermon every single week. They can take turn once a month. Each pastor have to do once a month, and they instead of being pastor on the month that the week that they don't have to preach, there can be a assistant, like a choir, some kind of leader in the church. So that way, cut down the labor of pastor have to spend so much time prepare the lesson every single week.
Okay, I never seen any group or any church doing what you say, Chris.
In a Memphis, there's a big church, right? Each church have 1,000 or a couple of 100,000, and they do that. They have one pastor, and then they have 5 different churches or 10 different churches, and the pastor, either one pastor or 2 pastor, and they take turn to preach. And each pastor they have their own church, but they don't have to preach every single week. They can be dedicate themselves to get to know the member, or doing other outreach or something like that.
Most churches in America now they expand. They call satellite churches.
Correct.
And the main pastor is the only one who preaches every week.
Can be like that too.
Yep. Every campus have their own pastor, but their own pastor don't preach. They just help as assistant. To run the local satellite.
Yeah.
Yeah, that idea working in some big churches with the very famous pastor, and they run satellite campus.
But they do take turn. Take turn from the pastor, senior pastor, youth pastor, and so on. They take turn to preach.
Yeah, when you say that the satellite churches, when that kind of churches, they have so many worship service every Sunday. So the senior, the very big pastor might preach one time and broadcast to all satellite, but they have second service, third service that they use a different pastor now.
The reason they're doing that is because the church over here is so big, and even though they have 2-3 sermons, the church still packed, and they need to be able to use more pastor to build the relationship with the member personally, instead of on the puppet. On the stage kind of thing, which is, even though they are very big church, but they still feel very small because they have a personal contact.
Well, I went to visit some of these big churches, a few of them in California, especially Warren churches. I see most of the people there are young people, mean that still young. And there are some old people, but very few. And most of them not really committed or connected to the church. They just they go to enjoy, to visit, and gone. When I say not committed, mean that most of them don't really become the member or commit to help in anything. Most of them just come to enjoy their time. And the church provide coffee shop, bookstore, shopping mall. So they just went there to enjoy time with their friend and then gone.
I don't know about that, but in over here, people, the helper, the people that who help the church is in every corner of the church.
Mm,
The volunteer is everywhere doing everything,
mm,
and I think it worked out. Like at the church that I go to, it's a Bellevue Baptist Church. If you go to the mall, it's bigger than the mall. That's how big the church is, with the parking lot and everything. It's almost like a Disneyland.
mm.
That's how big that thing is. But it does still have a personal contact. Become in term when we get to know it, it feels like a small church because we know people.
Well, maybe in the South you still can do that.
I
But
suppose.
in the West, it's a different story.
Yep.
Mm. Do you believe that there are more Buddhists in Malin County than real Christian?
John, go back
Really?
to the what are you looking for the staff? I said for me, I'm just looking for the one that loves God, and number two is the one that commitment and doesn't do it for anything, doesn't do it for fame, doesn't do it for money, but just to serve God together. So commitment is love God and serve God, and commitment is the one we're looking for. You know, like, and sometimes, you know, like you said, there's a favor here and there. You know, sometimes people, you know, I don't favor, I don't take sides. You know, in our congregation, you know, we don't take side, but some people will feel like, you know, one is favor from the other one. So we had those kind of staff that feel like that. But anyway, so go back to that. What is it? I forgot that the question I was gonna ask earlier, but it's gone. So anyway, about the staff, about the how you you know, support your staff. You know, we do like get together once a year at the end of the year, maybe like in December or something. All the staff get together, we have fun, we have, you know, game, and we, you know, like appreciate, tell the staff, each person who volunteer, tell staff that we appreciate their work. Without them is, you know, without them put the effort and all the stuff for the church, to keep the church running, to keep the church going. And we appreciate them by giving gift or something like that, you know, a little gift here and there. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I believe that more churches show appreciation to their volunteer every year by some way. But you think that's enough to keep them?
You gotta appreciation every day, that when the way they're doing a good thing, a good job for, you know, like serving the Lord. You know, you're not serving the, you know, people, but you're serving God. You know, like if they have that mentality, you know, serving God, the volunteer should be happy of serving. You know.
What you said is true. What you said is very true, but nevertheless, we still have a human heart. We still live in flesh. We do tire. We do burn out. That means we do need support. Especially the volunteer we need to give that volunteer better support than the one that we hire man.
Okay, before we take a break, I want you to think about my question. And after that, we can talk more. My question to you to think is, one very famous big pastor in California answer people who come to volunteer at his church by saying that you keep the money. I hire the professional to do all the best job. We don't need you to volunteer. We need your money. This is the fact. It's not a joke. We want the best. We hire professional. We don't use volunteer. Just give your money to the church. Are you there to tell the people that way?
I think American church, the public can say things like that.
Mhm.
But in Asian culture church, I think cannot.
Mhm. Well, to be fair, think about it. You think that you have a point?
Yes, I think we work for the Lord. I don't really mean to, I don't understand what the pastor mean about professional. But I think we, as a Christian, we hire someone that have the heart. Even we hire a professional that who don't have the heart, he may work for the flesh more than spiritual.
Yeah, I agree with Chai. Yeah.
It depends on the member too, Ajahn. If the member are fixed income or older people, they have time in their hand. And if the member is rich and working people, it's different story.
Well, there might not be one answer. It's not one size fit all. But for him, he can say that because he have a big church in California. And he's so famous. Okay, I will let you think about it and give you a break and come back to continue the second part of this chapter. Okay, we go on another section about let's see, where are we? Now we talk about conflict resolution skill in 6 easy steps. On the second section, we talk about when you work with your team, volunteer or paid, your staff always have problem. It's not mean always bad, but still you as a leader, how you help your team to work through their differences, their conflict, their problem. Sometimes they don't mention, but you can see that there is problem inside your team. They say that the best prevention is the best solution. So what that means? It means that don't let it happen. When it happens, it's always difficult to solve. Like how to solve your sickness. They say that it's better to prevent that you don't get sick to start with. Make yourself healthy so you don't get sick. After you get sick, it's big problem how to get well soon. So it's the same thing with problem in your team at your church. try to prevent problem from happening. So how you do that? Well, you need to get close to your team and observe them closely. Let them know that you listen to them and they can share with you all the time. Don't let them doubt you or don't trust you. So when misunderstanding happen, you can make it solve it a lot better until it become big problem. And that might be too late to do anything because the sickness is too severe now and out of control now. Well, but it's easy to say because a lot of time you don't know or you don't think that it's too bad. And now as a leader, when you deal with differences or conflict among your team, the first thing that they advise you is don't take it personally. Why? It means that some people think that they hate me, they don't like me, they disagree with me. A lot of time it's not about you personally. It's just about the situation in general or the church in general. It's not exactly about you, so don't take it personally. When you take it too personally, you cannot deal with it because you feel that they are against me, they don't like me, they are my enemy or something. But look a different way. This is normal. It happens all the time, and it's not just about you. It's about all the situation regularly. And then they tell you that you need to select a time to deal with that. Mean that don't ignore it and don't postpone it. You need to set a time that we need to deal with that situation, that problem. So a lot of time we ignore it, or a lot of time we delay it, or we think that it will solve by itself, but it don't. So set a time to deal with a certain situation that happened. And then another advice, check your perception. What that mean? It means that you need to make sure that you understand the situation correctly and you know what's going on. Because a lot of time you just think about that and you just imagine about it. It might not be correct. It might not exactly the real situation. So how you know that this is correct? Well, you need to check aloud. You need to talk with a few people, the key people, and the people that you know get involved. So you get all the information and you can make a judgment that this is the real picture, this is the real thing or not. So don't listen to just one side, but to everyone. Get the idea, get the real situation. And now you need to find where you stand. Well, people have all different ideas and different expectations. But you as a leader, you need to stand on the words of God and the best thing that what God going to do with the situation. People want to know what you believe, what you think, and what your decision is because you are the top leader of the church, of the group. So you need to let them know what you believe, what you think the best for everyone. And then talk with them. What is the next step we can do? And they recommend that write it down. Don't just talk about it because people will forget and change what you say. So write it down what you think, what is the best step we at a church have to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So don't let people guess or let people change it, what they want. So this is advice. And then and now some people is very emotional, mean that in all conflict and in all churches, Some people very calm. Some people is just responsive, but some people very emotional. Mean that they explode all the time. So for those people, those situations, they recommend you that make appointment with those people privately and talk with them personally. Don't let them explode in the church or in group because they cannot control themselves. So it's always best that you talk with them privately, personally, for the disappointment of their problem, of what they think. And then always open your door, mean that let them know that you're always available to talk with them, to deal with the situation with them. And let them know that how you think and how people think, and what is the best, what we should do. And sometimes you might have to let them know that the emotion and their behavior is not appropriate because nobody there to tell them. But you as a leader, sometimes you need to let them know. In the public meeting or in church, what they react when they get angry or when they disappointed, they show a lot of things that not appropriate. Privately tell them. Get assistance means that some situation is too much for you to handle. You need help. And you need professional help sometimes for some people. And let the whole church know what step that you take and what solution that we already have or we expect to have. So you work as a team, but some people is very toxic. Some people very explosive. You need to deal with them personally first. You cannot let them explode in church all the time to hurt other people. Now, some people use some ineffective, mean that a lot of way here doesn't work, but people keep using them, but they want to recommend you that you should stop using something that doesn't work and might cause more problem. Now, the first one is try to win all the time. And people feel that you never care. You just want to win at all costs. And people don't like that. So don't show your attitude that you want to win all the time and you don't care about how people feel or how situation is. You just want to be winner all the time. So this is not good way. Avoidance means that you don't want to deal with any problem. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to deal with it. And you want it just to disappear. This is not good too. Bargaining. Bargaining means that you half. You want to do something, but not everything. You want to let them know that you will help with something, but the rest you don't want to do with. So this is bargaining. A lot of time it doesn't make any side happy because you say that we should compromise, we should bargain, but it's clear that it doesn't work that way sometimes. It needs to be clear that which side that we need to take. Quick fix. Well, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work. A lot of things need time. A lot of things need a lot of talking, discussion, pray, and work together. And a lot of times you try to make it quick, mean that, okay, everyone forget about it. And next week, we don't talk about it anymore. Well, it might not work that way. So quick fix is not always work. And the last section of the chapter, we talk a little bit about the powerful impact of servant leadership. It goes back to the heart of what Jesus teaches about to be a leader. It's not the one who in the front all the time. It's not the one who wait for people to serve, but Jesus served his servant, served his disciple. And this is the model that we all leaders need to learn. Servant leadership means that you serve people first before you lead them. So this is the model Jesus do. Jesus take care of his disciple. At the end, his last week, he washed his disciple feet to show a symbol of humility. The master never done that to their follower, but Jesus did. And Jesus is God and even more humble. And some quality that we need to have as a real servant leader is you care for people genuinely. I mean that real heartedly. You sincerely care for people, not faking, not just show off. You really, deep down in your heart, you really care for people. If you don't have this quality, maybe you don't fit in this model. The second one is love what he or she does. So it just means that we love what we're doing. And here, leader can be any position in church. You can be Sunday school teacher. You can be choir leader. You can be the musician. But you love what you're doing. Really love it. And a servant leader is humble. And this is the very important quality. If you're not humble, you cannot serve anyone, especially to God. And number 4, listen to her team, his team. And this we use in the sense that your team too. You listen to everyone in your team. And a servant leader lead in service means that you don't show off. You lead by serving and working in the same time. And people see your performance, they know that you humble and you lead by serving. This is the quality that we're looking for. The strength of the servant leader. Well, humility is your strength. And your strength is your sincerity. A lot of people think that those are weak, but in fact, it's the strength of servant leadership. And we talk about the value, why we honor this kind of servant. And we want to see that in our churches. Let's see what the value that we have from this kind. Honor others, inspire vision, truth ethic, empower others, privilege people before tax, balance focus with flexibility, serve with humility. So this is similar to what we talked early on, but this is just add more, expand more. So you see that it's similar to the first section we talk about servant leader. We talk about you humble, you care about other people. Here it adds on more that you give people chances. You let people see that you care for them. You help them, you inspire them, and you make other people in your team to get better, improve themselves. So it means that you don't leave them behind, or you don't just put yourself up on the top, but you share with your team and you care with them dearly. And you do everything to help other people in your team to have a chance to do better things. So this is sum up all the good quality of servant leadership. So in this article, we talk more in detail that the 7 things that we talk up front there, that a church looking for servant leadership. But why we don't have a lot? We just have a lot of leaders who are not want to be servant, but just want to be boss. To boss people around to put themselves on top and don't care about other people. Why we have those kind of boss, so many? Why we don't have enough servant leadership in today, especially in churches? We can come and talk more why it's so difficult to be servant leader, but we can do other kind of leader a lot easier. But to be servant leader from the model of Jesus, why it's so difficult? So this article will get all the way to the quality, the thing that we need from our leader, Christian leadership. And I will come back to you to see which one is the most important for you. Humility, patience, love, care for other people, and put other people before yourself. Give people the chance. Well, it's all important, but for you, you might think that some in your culture, in your team, one quality is more important than another quality for now. It depends on your situation. When you say one quality is so important now, it might be because you're in a certain situation right now that require that quality. And in general, everything is important as a servant leader, the model after Jesus. You look at Jesus, what he did, that's the model we learn. And we need more leaders that way. It doesn't matter what position you lead at church. Yes, we talk a lot more about pastor because you are the top. But there are many group of leadership in your church that work with you. Choir leader, youth leader, worship leader, and many other leaders too that need to learn about all this quality. Okay, your reflection, how you think about servant leadership. Why it's so difficult to be one? And why?
John,
Yes.
to me, it's more in general. I think that every all important. Also, we need to understand the audience or the team that work with us. And I think individually may have each may affect a person in different way. And I think we need to understand each of the volunteer or the team that be with us.
So what do you think your team looking at you? What they expect from you?
I think everyone will be different.
Well, we try everything, Ajahn. Patience is also, we use that patience a lot, and also let other people have a chance to do that for so long. And we do all that. Humble and humility is also good. We need to be humble to serve. If we don't humble and then sometimes we let it go. If you patient too long, sometimes your patience can grow thin too. Is that right?
Do you think that your culture get involved when they expect a servant leadership?
It might be part of it, John. Yeah. Culture.
So what will people expect from you as a leader?
I think a lot of time as a leader, people will expect that you know everything and you can do everything.
Mm.
But the fact that we cannot do everything, that's why we need team.
Do your people expect you to serve them? To
Yeah,
be
I
their
think a lot of
servant?
time, I think a lot of time people expect the leader to know everything and to serve instead of like John F. Kennedy said, you know, we should just don't ask what the country do for you, but ask what you can do. And a lot of people, a lot of time, we don't remember that, so we kind of think that if I go there, I want them to serve me instead of going and see if whatever I can do to help and serve.
Now, let me share with you something in Thai culture. All the government worker we call servant, public servant, or civil servant, but in fact, they are the boss. They never come to serve anyone. They come to be the boss of the people. And the people know that this is not servant. This is the boss. I don't know in your culture, is that the case?
Ajahn, I think is our culture, especially for the servanthood, like pastor or leader like that. They expect them to be faithful, honesty, and you know, like serving without, you know, serving with love. Not, you know, I think that's all the member would, you know, even though that person is not smart, not enough, have enough education. I believe that I think that's what they're looking for.
Hmm. But how about in your other people culture? Because in reality and in theory, it's not always the same thing. So what your people expect from you, Nathan?
Ajahn, I think besides Jesus culture, the rest of the culture are the same. You want if you are high ranking or if you are well known, you want people to serve you. But instead, in Jesus culture, if you're the boss, you have to serve your downline, your people.
Hmm.
Other way around, right, Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the servant, and we serve the sheep, right? The fox. Yeah.
I don't know for other people, but for me, it's really hard to when you are among our brothers in the church, you have to humble yourself. But when you go out, you have to show people that you're the boss. If you show yourself too weak, that people can take advantage of you. It's really hard to play those kind of the movie, the cinema. What do you call that? It's really tough.
I think we learning and our people is adjusting to because we come from a very different culture from the Bible. So as you say that Jesus culture or the Bible teach the best. And our people need to learn how to adjust. And we, the leader, need to learn how to do the right way too. Now people worry that if they know this, can they abuse the teaching? When they use the word abuse, mean that they use it wrong.
The true leaders should not be using like that, Ajahn, right? To not abuse the power, to not abuse the you know, what they're called to be. They call you to be a servant of the people, not to be boss of them, right?
And now how your people abuse that teaching. You ever seen
I think
some of your people abuse that?
yeah, they're taking advantage of your kindness. there's one pastor. The church want him to go sit in the office 8 hours a day, and beside that, when he goes home, they will call him, and he have to go to the house and do what they need to be done. And he said, then if you want me to go to office, sit for 8 hours, and when I'm done with my hours, I just do the other people. I just turn off my phone and I don't answer the phone.
Yeah, you see, the pastor job very different from other job because you're on call 24 hours. So everything has to be flexible. And most pastors work more than 60 hours a week anyway. I talk to many young people that why don't you accept the job as youth pastor or assistant pastor of the church? They say that they pay me part-time salary, but expect me to work more than full-time. So how you answer that?
I think
That's a
that's
fact.
true, Ajahn, to most of the American. That's why the youth pastor, they can not stay in one place for so long, maybe like 4 years the most.
Yeah, the pay is not good, but the workload is so much.
So that means pastor never get sick, huh? Cannot call sick anything. No vacation, no sick leave, no sick time.
Well, by the grace of God. Yeah, Nathan.
Ajahn, so is it worth it for a pastor, like you said, they get paid for full-time pastor, but they work overtime job? Is it worth it for the pastor keep going, keep doing like that?
So you need to have a calling and commitment. Without that, that's why in a few chapters we will talk about more detail. That's why 90% of pastors quit. The one who start less than 10% will last until retirement. %90 of the pastors will quit before retirement. When they talk about retirement, I talk about 65.
I think, Ajahn, being a pastor, I don't think if you retire, you don't get no benefit from the pastor, right? Like for us, we're a small church. We don't have those type of like maybe the big church, maybe the pastor retire and they pay for their pastor retirement.
Yeah, that's another thing that we need to talk about. When you start young, you need to build some kind of retirement plan with the convention, or you get another job and contribute to your Social Security retirement. If not, when you retire, you have nothing.
Then I think a pastor don't retire. Have to work until he cannot.
You're right in one sense that real pastor never retire, but still you need to have some kind of retirement plan. Not retirement plan, mean that support when you get old. Most people who work in America get Medicare after 65. A lot of pastors don't even have that. Why? Because they never contribute to that program because of their work. and no social security too, because they don't contribute to that program too. Or other people in America need to contribute to that, but the ordained pastor have the choice to join or not to join. And that we can discuss more, that a lot of pastors in the past decide not to join, and that's a big mistake.
John, even I get little bit from the church, then I still do that, do a self-employment tax and do a social security, pay social security tax also.
That's good. That's the right thing to do. And you get back more than what you put in. So this system is good for the people who make very low income. Okay, tonight we talk about staff, paid staff and volunteer, and also about the servant leadership. So people feel that we have a lot of responsibility. And how can we do all these things? Well, by ourselves, we cannot, but by the grace of God, we can do it. And the last verse for the chapter is, in the future, there are going to be more what we call bivocational pastor or leader or teamwork. Mean that beside serving in church, most of us will need another job. And we can talk more on this topic in the future, that it's good or not good. And how we going to do that the best way.
John, is Paul,
Yes.
is
Yes.
Apostle Paul work by vocational? Because he
Yeah,
also tent maker?
you can classify Paul as bivocational leader or staff, because Paul always have another job. He make tent at nighttime. Or some people say he make tent at daytime. At nighttime, he teach Bible. And he always work another job to support himself and his team. So he don't need to wait for any people to support him. He always have enough income to support himself and his team. So that's a good model from the beginning. And some people ask that, do Paul need to work? Really need to work? Well, I think if he doesn't want to work, he can do that, because he have a lot of followers who can support him too. But he decide to work. Why? We can talk more. Why Paul decide to work if he don't need to? A lot of us work because we have to. I mean, work another job. But for Paul's situation, I think that it's not because he have to, but he want to. And his model going to be the best model in the future too. But he already started 2,000 years ago. Yeah, Nathan.
Ajahn, since we are talking about bivocational, if you were 20, 30 years old, if you have start all over, will you be doing the same thing like bivocational, or you wanna do the full-time pastor?
You know that if you ask me that I'm bivocational or not from the beginning, I say yes. When I start the church, I went to school full-time. I work part-time and I start the church. So you might say that three things. After I graduate, I quit my part-time job and serve the church and start teaching with seminary is also two jobs too. And I have been keeping these two jobs for the last 40 something years.
So you started bivocational. You started.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I started by bivocational too, and also still doing that right now.
Yeah.
My family have only one income. My wife doesn't have work, so she got a off. Her unemployment is gone now for 6 months. Yeah. So we just whatever the Lord pray for her that she may get a job so she can be another income. So I'm not worried. God's in control. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will pray with you and let you go. We're going to stop for a few minutes and come back for the second class. So Kamsai have some project to present. Who else have anything to present today? Okay, we can do that on the second hour of the second class. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you that tonight we learn as pastor, leader of the church, we have to do a lot of things. Help us not just to learn, but to practice and to use all the knowledge for your kingdom. I lift up Kong Sai and the rest of us and for him and his family that his wife will get back a job and help them for whatever they need. You will provide for Kimberly too. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay. I will shut down for a